Hi, folks. Over 20 years ago, I got a terminal diagnosis. I got better. And I was told at that time I had 1 year to live. And they told me this for 10 years. So for 10 years, I thought that everything I did, this was the last time I would do it. You know, my last tube of toothpaste, whatever. So if you can imagine what it is living like that, it's kind of a horrible way to live as a very young man, to believe that, a bus was coming around that corner. But my first thought, of course, was that I was living someone else's life. I had wanted to go to Cranbrook as a young man. My parents basically said, if you go to art school, you are disowned and do it on your own. So I chose another path. So at that moment, I realized it was time to recapture my life. And the life that I thought that I had missed was the life of being an artist. So the only thing I could think of was, I want to be a glass artist. I have no idea why, but. So 20 years ago, there was no glass in the entire region. You see a lot of glass in this region now. You see it at Artomatic. You all probably know some glass artists. But back then, there was nothing. And I had to drive 8 hours each way to find glass. That was the nearest glass that could be found. So dozens and dozens of times over those years, I would drive to find glass. So identifying a need in Washington was easy because I knew that I was driving 8 hours and so was everyone else to try to get to that. So like a bolt of lightning one day, I realized I had just sold a big piece of glass from Artomatic. God bless Artomatic. And with the seed money from that, I realized I had enough money to found that glass school. And so I did. That was the beginning of that creative community. And there were so many people ready to jump on board, since there was none here, and all the people that had to leave were ready to jump on board, so it became fairly active immediately. We had a large advisory committee, including Bill Ivey, the former director of the National Endowment of the Arts. And the first tenet we decided to base ourselves on was we would receive no public money. Now, I know that's probably the antithesis of what most of the creative groups here do, but with Bill Ivey as my advisor, who believed that the 501c3 system would crumble upon itself, it was the best thing for us to do was to develop something we call the community entrepreneurial model, which means we would make large-scale public artworks and use the money from those public artworks to fund our incubator space and also our school children that would come in. So we would use that money to fund all of the things that we would do to be responsive to the community, a little different than the other ways. And our second principle was that everyone there would commit to something we call the artist covenant. So if you were there at our space, you had to be vetted to that covenant. And our artist covenant said, if you are here, you will be happy for everyone else's success, even if it is not your own, and which is much harder than you think. But because of that, we had a very strong community. Everyone was there helping everyone else. Everyone was there providing opportunity, and thus began the growth of this particular place. And for those of you who are outside of creative community or here, to show you the importance of a creative community to artists and performers and other creative types, I'm going to give you a small story. And that story is about a monkey. And as all stories that have to do with monkeys and humans, the monkey does not ever fare too well. So in the 60s, a family in California got a little baby chimp. He was so cute. His name was Manfred. And Manfred had little clothes that he wore. He played on the swing set out back. He ate dinner at the table with the kids. He had a certain amount of sign language. He had the free range of the place. It was an amazing, wonderful 2 years. And then he got big. So the family, fearing for the safety of their children, sold our Manfred to a man who owned a tool and die company. And that man put a cage in the side of the tool and die company that was 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot, And there our Manfred sat for 9 years. The employees of the tool and die company resented the monkey. The owner liked it, but the people there had to feed it. It smelled. They didn't really want the chimp there. So when the owner was away, they tormented the monkey mercilessly. Sometimes they'd feed him. Sometimes they wouldn't. If they had to clean the cage, they would just hose him down the cage. Finally, Manfred had had enough and bit the finger off one of the employees. So the owner decides to sell Manfred to medical research. And the medical research lab puts him in another 5 foot by 5 foot by 5 foot cage. And there Manfred sat for the next 12 years, being injected with every disease known to man from HIV down. And there our Manfred vomited for another 12 years. But finally, there is a Chimpanzee Rescue League. And the Chimpanzee Rescue League finds our Manfred. And they take him to a place off the coast of Florida called Monkey Island. And on Monkey Island, there are no enclosures. Everywhere that they can live have no doors, so that the animals can come and go as they wish. And Manfred never even went in his enclosure. Manfred sat outside under that tree because he was never going to be imprisoned again. And for the people at that glass school, that is our Monkey Island. And for every single person here who runs a creative organization, who is in a creative community, that's your Monkey Island. We can't ever go back. It's done. So there, that was pretty short and quick. We are now, the glass school, by the way, is now 12 years old. We have had over 4,000 students in that time. We're the second largest warm glass school in the country. And all that started from a bit of seed money from Artomatic and the support of Washington, D.C., which we can't thank enough. So thanks, everybody. See you later.